Hi, it's the Right Rican here, and today I have a very special episode. I have Dov Hikind, and he was um, kindly enough to do my show, and I'm here to just have a discussion. And I wanted to talk. I wanted to start talking with you. Maybe introduce yourself so people who don't know you on my channel could get you to know you for the first time.
Well, my name is, first of all, I'm delighted to be with you. Look forward to it. Uh, and my name is Dov,
Oh.
D-O-V Hikind. By the way, Dov is actually Hebrew. It means a bear, not a dove, D-O-V-E. I'm not that kind. I'm not a bird. I'm a bear. So I was a member of the New York State Assembly, the legislature, for 36 years. Oh my God, that's a long time. And I represented communities in Brooklyn. And after I left with the outbreak of anti-Semitism like never before, unfortunately, we started an organization, tax-exempt organization called Americans Against Anti-Semitism, to stand up to fight against hate, regardless of where it comes from, whether it's the right, the left, the center, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. Hate is hate, racism is racism, anti-Semitism is anti-Semitism. So we've been out there doing our thing for 2 years with support from all over the country. And it's not happy. I'm not a happy person that this is what I need to do after finishing 36 years as an elected official.
Oh no, I don't blame you. I'd like that's something where I like to talk about here. Um, there was a show I did a couple episodes ago where I talked about what they were talking about the anti-Asian hate and the irony behind that, and same thing with the anti-Semitism that's going on in New York. The reason why it doesn't get the play that it does on the media is because it's people of color. It's usually blacks, Latinos, ones attacking. I see videos, and it just disgusts me seeing that because I grew up in the Lower East Side. So I tell you a little bit about my story. I grew up in the Lower East Side, and literally lived right next door to a synagogue. And I
Wow.
grew and I grew up playing baseball with all the Jewish kids in my neighborhood. So like my friend Nachum went to Israel to study um, to be a rabbi. I don't know what his brother Ari did, but I mean, we lost touch. If you're talking about 30 years ago, that we were playing as kids. So, but so I mean, it's my first job. My first job growing up was I forgot what Sam's last name was, but he was a Holocaust survivor. He actually showed
Well,
us his tattoo, and
right.
it was there on Orchard Street.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, there were a lot of survivors who owned businesses there. I
Hmm.
used to go there. We used to go to the Lower East Side because the prices were great. So on Sundays I lived in Williamsburg actually, grew up in Williamsburg, and we used to go just take, it was one right over the bridge, and
Hmm.
we got off there. And I remember there were. By the way, the first time I ever had Chinese food was a kosher restaurant on the Lower East Side.
Hmm.
I had never, and I was 19, 20 years old when I had my first. Someone said to me, "You got to have Chinese food," and I'm in love with Chinese food. So the Lower East Side was an amazing place. A lot of history. A lot of
Hmm.
immigrants came there. Jews. You know,
Hmm.
occupied a lot of those tenements and homes. So a lot of history there.
Hmm. No, like I said, like I said, I could actually say Nachum the right way because I grew up around
You,
them. I
you
mean,
say you say it like maybe you got a little Jewish blood there.
well, you grow up. I mean, the beauty about where I grew up. I mean, I grew up in such a diverse neighborhood that have experience with people like I had a bodega and what we call a Habibi store, whereas the Middle
Right.
Eastern people that they buy the corner stores, and I grew up all around this. So to me, to see the increase of just every type of all these type of hate crimes and all that stuff, it hurts me because like I said, I didn't grow up, I grew up with so many different ethnicities around me that and it's both on both sides. That's the
Right.
sad
Right.
thing.
Look, the question really is, where does it come from? When young people commit acts of of desecration, or they do a swastika, or they beat up on someone, as a bias attack. Where's it coming from? Nobody grows up as a child. You're not born with anti-Semitic or racist tendencies.
No.
It comes from someplace. It's maybe what you hear in the home. It's maybe what you hear among friends. But unfortunately, the Jewish community, the Asian community, and the Black community, there's a lot of, people need to stop being judgmental. They need to just remember that, we're all created by God, and we can have our differences. That's perfectly fine. But it should never cross the line where, suddenly it's about Jews, the Jews, and or about any other group. People are people. It should never be about a group. If you don't like an individual, be that person black, green, blue, whatever, it's about that person, not about everyone who's from that family, or so.
No,
but unfortunately, it's not that way.
No, it's not. It's just sad that that's where that's where I don't like this infusion of identity politics, because if you attack the person's politics, then you're supposedly attacking the person's identity. And it's like, look, I'm Latino, and I grew up Democrat. I'm from New York City. Like I said, I'm from the Lower East Side. My first election, when I turned 18, that I was eligible to vote. Let me see. I think that was the Bloomberg election when he ran for mayor. And when he ran as a Republican, I remember I was supporting Fernando Ferrer. That's who, because he's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, so that's who I supported on the Democrat side. But when he didn't win, I actually voted for Bloomberg.
Yeah, I knew Ferrer quite well, and I didn't. In fact, I supported him as well. I supported Bloomberg. Bloomberg ran 3 times, right?
Yeah, well, he ran. He also ran more as a moderate, because he was a lifelong Democrat before he ran as a Republican. And honestly, this is what I tell. I lived in Texas for a few years too. I used to tell my friends in Texas, I go, a Texas Democrat would be a New York Republican.
Right.
Because there really is no hard right Republicans in New York. They can't win.
Right. Exactly. Of course. No, but look, Bloomberg, as you said, he was a little of everything. I don't think he was a Democrat. I don't think he was. Look, he ran as a Republican so he could get elected, because the Democrats were not going to. He wasn't going anywhere politically. But look, he got his 12 years and did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, no, especially when you compare it to the clown that's in the mayor right now. It's like, talk about anti-Semitism. It's like,
yeah,
I've seen some of his stuff, and I'm just there like, I roll my eyes when I hear him speak.
Yeah, look, I think De Blasio. Look, I know him very well. Years ago, my wife and his wife and the two of us, we played paddleball together.
Oh wow.
The 4 of us, right here, I don't live in Brooklyn anymore, but in Brooklyn, a few blocks from my home on Avenue P, we were playing paddleball. And by the way, the mayor sucks as a paddleball player. Okay, he's tall. He can't move. His wife is pretty good, but we had him at our Shabbos table, our Sabbath table on Friday night with his kids. In fact, the mayor tells the story again and again. He repeats the story. My mother survived Auschwitz. She's not alive anymore. She died at the age of 95. But she went to Auschwitz in 1944 with her family, her mother, etc. Most of her family was murdered the day they got to Auschwitz. Straight to the gas chambers. Yeah, that's real. Gas chambers. No reason. Men, women, children, little children, pregnant women. It didn't matter. That's what happened. But when the mayor came to my home for the Sabbath with his wife and 2 kids, my mother, after my father passed away, was with us every Friday night. And one Friday night, I remember when the mayor was there, I showed the mayor's kids my mother's, I think it was her left arm, where she had the numbers from Auschwitz. And the mayor talks about it many times, publicly. He mentions being at my home and the lesson from my mother. But look, unfortunately, Mayor de Blasio, by the way, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but just pretty incompetent.
Yeah, with his policy. I mean, I saw like stuff that when he was sending the police to lock down the parks during COVID. And I mean, I was shaking my head with that because I'm like, where do you want these kids to go? Where do you want, where, especially, in Brooklyn there and Manhattan, you have, these areas where there's no place for these kids to go and to unwind, to get, I mean, I just saw that stuff and I couldn't.
Not cool.
No, not cool whatsoever.
Right.
But yeah, let's not, I don't want to trash the current mayor. I'll leave that alone.
Listen, he's done. He's finished. It's over. The question is, who comes next? And what's the future of New York? That's the question.
No,
who's
that's
the leader.
No, definitely. It's gonna, because my parents still live there in the Lower East Side, so I have an interest in this. So I see the crime spiking in New York. I mean, people mock about some of the stuff that's going on, but it's not cool when I see stuff like people post like shootouts in my neighborhood, and I'm like, wow. I remember when I was a kid in the 80s, and those were commonplace. Now it's like, but the neighborhood's different. That's not supposed to be going on anymore over there.
Well, look, we got rid of crime years ago. Things were terrible in the 1980s. I remember prior to Giuliani. We know whatever you think of him today, Mayor Giuliani. By the way, I'm a Democrat, but I call myself, I'm not a blind Democrat. I support Republicans when I think they're better, and everyone should always look at the individual. So while I remain a Democrat and will not change, I'm pretty straightforward and honest about, hey, if I think someone is better for my city, for my community, for my country, I'm going to support that person. And by the way, no one is perfect.
No, okay? Not at all. Not at all. No, I know. I think that's great. That's one of the reasons why I admire you. That's why I've been following you, is because I call you an old school Democrat, even though on your Wikipedia they call you a conservative Democrat, which I think it's a swipe. It's trying to, I think it's trying to make it seem like you're not really a Democrat.
Well, you're absolutely correct. In 36 years in the New York State Assembly, my voting record is no different from almost every other Democratic member on the general stuff, right? Everybody votes pretty much in a very similar fashion. There are certain issues where I have a different point of view, okay? And based on that, you're absolutely right. Hey, listen, I don't like to be called the Orthodox Assemblyman. I mean, hey, how do you know how Orthodox I am? Because I wear a yarmulke? How do you know? Maybe so, but and I would tell reporters from the New York Times, like, do you call a conservative Jew, I mean, like Reform Jew, conservative, do you call them a conservative Jew or a Reform Jew? Why are you calling me Orthodox? Because that puts you into like a hole. Oh, he's an Orthodox. And then, as you point out, conservative, right? Even though my voting record, 99% of the votes I've taken are no different from anyone else. But I have a different point of view on some things. I am a conservative. But you know what? I will accept the label. I'm cool with it. To me, I look at it like this. If you're going to, you supported your constituents. And if that's if they put you in for 36 years, then you were doing something right. Well, but how I look at it is, I think the party's changed. I think, the Overton window on the party has changed from when you first were elected till now. That absolutely. I'm pretty sure some of your policies, you were straight Democrat 30 years ago, and you're still that same person, but the party's changed so far left that, right. Now you are conservative. You're absolutely right. I didn't change. They changed.
No,
that is absolutely true. That is, look, if you're liberal, okay, I'm conservative, you're liberal. That's
Mhm.
okay, but it isn't anymore about being liberal. You've got to be extreme left progressive.
Mhm.
You know, that's what it's all about. So it's the world has changed, and it's the Democratic Party. A large part of it is really extremists and dangerous. I mean, some of the issues like defund the police.
Oh,
I mean, I just don't understand. If you defund the police, who's coming to your home when someone is breaking in at 2 o'clock in the morning? I want to know who's coming.
well, yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, to me, the defending the police and then going, okay, well, we got to regulate guns to the point where it's like almost impossible to get. Then which one is it? Because if you're gonna tell me that I got to turn in my guns, but you're gonna take away the police, then who's gonna protect me?
Right, right. Well, that's so.
Where
This is part of the problem. It's very extreme, makes no sense. But it's the people that make the most noise get the most attention. Majority of Americans are like you and me,
Mhm,
maybe a little more liberal, maybe a little more conservative,
mhm.
but it is a small group within the Democratic Party in particular. And by the way, you have the same problem in the Republican Party, but
Oh yeah.
but they're the ones who are dictating things. They're the ones on social media who make all the noise. So you think that they are a very large group, but the truth is they're not. All the polling actually shows that. By the way, I
Mhm.
just want to mention I don't know, is it the right word to say Latino community?
Oh, I don't. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not.
Okay,
It.
because
I always go back and forth. I know there's a specific distinction between it, but
you
it
got to
doesn't.
keep up with the lingo, you know, things that
Oh yeah,
things you could say.
the one I won't accept is the Latinx, whatever. That one I will not accept. That
I
one,
get I totally I
and
totally
and 90. I think they did a poll, and seriously, I think it was like 92 or 93% of Latinos do not like that term.
Yeah. By the way, Latinos are more conservative, and you know, in fact, they are great supporters of Israel. The Latino
Hmm.
community in general, I'm saying,
No, we mostly are. I
based
mean,
on all the polling.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Richie Torres, he's Latino.
mhm,
Again, within the Latino community, it's obviously a lot of different groups depending on where you come from.
mhm,
But he's one of the most. I tell you, he is as supportive of Israel as any member of the United States Congress.
mhm,
I talk to him on a regular basis. Super guy, very special, and the Latino community in general. I remember after the election with Trump, there was
mhm,
an article in the Wall Street Journal that really surprised me, and I was thrilled. It talked about certain communities in Harlem, in Manhattan, Latino communities,
mhm.
where whether it was Trump, etc., did better, shocked people by the number of people
Yes.
who voted for Trump. And you know what they said in the article? Why they did that?
What? I
Two
didn't.
things:
Go ahead.
abortion
Mhm,
and Israel.
mhm. Oh yeah,
That was the Wall
abortion is
Street Journal.
definitely. I remember I was talking with my mother. My mother's not political, and my wife was talking to my mother-in-law when they were going to pass that up to 9 months abortion bill in New York, and in Telemundo and Univision they didn't talk about it. They didn't touch it. Why? Because Latinos don't go for that. It's like some people may be pro-choice in the Latino community, but a lot of them, they're the old Democrat way:
Right,
safe,
right,
legal, and rare. That was the old standard. Now, and I'm still that old. That's where I go. I'm still a Democrat in that sense because I'm still believe in safe, legal, and rare. I don't believe in 9 months. That's my son
right,
was born at 24 weeks.
right. Exactly. Look. The science is so clear, but the attitude people on the left is don't confuse me with the facts.
Yeah,
Don't they talked about the science when it came to COVID, right? We follow the science,
yeah. They're
right?
still not
But when
following
it
it,
comes
but
to abortion, even in the eighth month, look, there were people talking about you can abort even after the baby's born.
infanticide.
Come
Yep.
on,
Hmm.
that's not taking a life. I mean, the mothers should have the choice. The choice to do what? You don't want your baby
There's
There are
plenty of
people
people that
looking
want
to
it.
adopt your baby.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I mean, they're talking about who's going to adopt all these extra kids. There's a lot of people that want to adopt, and
Precisely.
and what a lot of people don't know in this country, it is super difficult to adopt. That's why even like famous people go overseas to adopt
Right,
because it's
right.
easier for them to go to China or Africa to adopt a child
Precisely.
than it is
Exactly.
to do it here.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So some of it is just absolutely nuts. It's not about having a different point of view. It's
No.
about someone whose point of view is just off the charts.
Yeah.
Off the charts. You can't compromise on something like that.
No.
Look, you have a right to your point of view, but you can have an abortion in the 8th month, 9th, after the baby's born. How do you justify that? But you
Like I
know
said.
what? They
Mhm.
do. They
No,
do.
they do. Like I said, my son was born at 24 weeks, so he was in the NICU for 3 months, 3.5 months. So that changed me because I used to go, oh yeah, abortion up to 6 months, but after seeing that, how he fought for his life,
Wow. Wow.
I was
How
just
how
like
old is he now? How old?
13.
Wow. Wow.
13.
Beautiful.
That's my
Beautiful.
miracle baby. It's like he was this big. Literally, I was able to hold him in my hand.
Unbelievable.
What medicine could do right now is it's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah, exactly. That's why it doesn't make sense, the stuff that, but hey, it's become the in thing, and if you have, and by the way, if you have a different point of view, it's not like, okay, you're entitled, I don't agree with you, but you have a right. You're the enemy. You're a
Uh,
bad guy.
oh
You're
no, you're sexist. That's the
wow.
new one now. If you don't believe in a right for a woman to kill her baby up to 9 months, you're a
Right, right, right,
sexist.
right.
And
Well, it
call
is
me a
what it is. It's
call me a
sad.
sexist. I'll own that one. That one, like you said, if that makes me a sexist, then I'm a sexist.
Right, exactly.
Call me it. But I, so I wanted to talk about also what you were yesterday. I saw your Twitter feed with the video that you did the justice for Sarah.
Sarah, yeah. Sarah Halimi. This is an unbelievable story, everybody. This is crazy. Back in 2017, a woman by the name of Sarah Halimi, 65 years old, retired doctor, former kindergarten teacher, is sleeping in her apartment in Paris. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, someone breaks into the apartment. Someone, 27 years old, happens to be a Muslim, and that's relevant in this case,
Mhm.
and literally attacks Sarah Halimi, uses the phone to break her jaw, does terrible things to her body. I mean, I cannot describe what he was doing to this woman. And then he takes this woman, I mean, she's probably dead by then, and throws her over the railing from the 3rd floor. Okay? So he's arrested, of course. And the kicker of, and by the way, while he was in the apartment, he admits this later on, he saw a Jewish Bible and he saw a Jewish candelabra called a menorah, okay, that all of us have in our homes, okay? And he admitted later to a psychiatrist that this got him even angrier. It set him off even more. Can you
Wow.
imagine this? And while he's killing her, he's yelling, Allah Akbar. We all know
Yeah.
what that signifies. So, it goes on for years in the courts, the issue being that he's not guilty of anything. He didn't do anything wrong. Why? Because he was smoking marijuana. Yes, I'm not joking.
No, I read that.
I know that. I know.
I laughed because I'm like,
it is marijuana. We're not even talking about any of the other most serious substances.
no.
So the highest court in France, just about a week ago, came to a final decision and said, this guy cannot be tried. He didn't do anything wrong because he didn't know what he was doing. And what does all that mean? He could be walking the streets of Paris again as soon as he feels better. As soon as the marijuana gets out of his system, he can be back in the streets to murder other Jews, other innocent people in France. I mean, people listening to this must be saying, did I hear right? Did he say marijuana? And the answer is yes. So we were outside the French consulate, our organization, Americans Against Anti-Semitism. You can check us out, americansaa.org. And we were out there, hundreds of people, doing the right thing, standing up, demanding justice, lighting memorial candles, and so on and so forth. We were there for hours. I was even trying to get arrested. I got to tell you, it's hard to get arrested in New York. I had the police all over and I know many of them. And I said, we sat down in the street, and I said, please arrest me. And they basically said to me, you're going to have to do a lot more than that to get arrested. That's not the way it used to be. Come on, give me a break. So,
no, I mean, but at the end of the day, when I was watching it, I just, I admire how there was nothing, there was no violence, there was no craziness. It was just chanting, like you said, making a memorial just to get your message across.
Right.
You didn't have to break down the consulate to make a message.
Right. Look, I got to tell you, you may not have done all the homework on me, but when I was a kid, I was involved in the Jewish Defense League. And, we studied karate, and it was meant for Jews to be tough when you're fighting anti-Semitism. Sometimes you got to be tough. Sometimes you got to be difficult. Sometimes you got to know how to defend yourself, and so on and so forth. But you're absolutely correct. We were there, loud. We were ready to get arrested. A lot of people sat right in front of the police told us, as long as you don't block traffic, you can sit here all day and all night. So it was, next time I want to make my point, I know exactly what to do. But the point is, you're absolutely correct. We got our media attention. We've got our story. We're still doing interviews on yesterday. We're fighting for what we believe in. And that's beautiful. Everyone should be involved. When people are having difficulty, when people are having challenges, we should be there for our fellow citizens, for our
fellow human beings, just our fellow human beings. I mean, I remember when you did the protest for NBC, where
Saturday Night Live, right?
I couldn't be there. I couldn't be there in person, but I did a video and I said, if you could be there in person, go.
Thank you.
To the
yeah. Look. Again, it's about standing up. It's about speaking out, and being loud and being tough, and so on and so forth. And look, there's nothing wrong with civil disobedience, right? Martin Luther King. I grew up loving Martin Luther King. He was. I loved listening to him. I loved what he represented. I was just a kid. But you can get arrested. You can do a lot, but destroying other people's property because of my cause, because I have a cause, so I have a right to go into the community and destroy your business that you've worked all your life to build up.
That's the sad thing. It's in the most part, it's their own communities.
Exactly.
That's what I don't understand. I could understand, let's say, if they went to, something happened in LA and they're going to Hollywood or something to go, destroy Hollywood because that's not their neighborhood. But you're destroying where you live in. That business that you just burned down, guess what? Their insurance is probably not going to cover everything. They may not reopen.
Precisely. Yeah. Look, what you're saying makes total sense. And I think decent people, the overwhelming majority of people in this country, they get it. I think when they see the violence, they're turned off, they're angry, they're upset. There's no justification for that. Destroying someone else's property, we're not talking about, a multi-billion-dollar business. It shouldn't be done to anyone. We're talking ma and pa stores in your neighborhood. We're talking about people just surviving with their businesses. And when you burn it down and you steal everything in it and the insurance doesn't cover it, and maybe the person doesn't even have insurance, you are destroying a family in your community, often a family of color, a minority family. How do you justify that?
Can't. Well, they do, but they can't. I mean,
right. right,
I mean, I see some of the justifications, and I just eye roll because um, I just don't understand it. I
right,
mean, I'm like I said, I mean, I grew up in my neighborhood, and I don't see like I couldn't imagine them destroying like the Chinese food restaurant, like you talked about earlier. I couldn't
right,
imagine them destroying a place like that, and that's a business that they could destroy. And what money are you going to get from it?
right,
What did you do? But maybe destroy a business, like you said. They probably don't have no insurance. Those Chinese food places.
right,
They're
right.
just a
No,
small business,
or not enough insurance.
or not
So you're
enough.
so you're basically putting them out of business very often.
Hmm.
There's no one. The media has not. You know, they don't care about looking into this. How many of the businesses that were destroyed or affected back
Well,
during the riots, how many of them are out of business?
well, do you
Have you seen
remember?
any reports on that?
Do you remember that funny scene? There's a CNN reporter, and there's the fiery background behind her,
Oh
and the
yes,
Chiron read "peaceful protest," and
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like, "Are you really gaslighting me that much that you're gonna tell me it's calling it a peaceful protest when there's a fire in the background?"
yeah. And look, but you and I, we saw that
Hmm.
and how ridiculous that was. And did anyone ask the questions? It doesn't make sense. It's like being out there when the moon is shining and telling your audience how beautiful the sun is. Whoa, what a beautiful, isn't it beautiful out there? The sun shining, and it's the moon, it's at night.
Hmm. And that's what I was saying about like my response to the National Guard was being called before the verdict, the Chauvin verdict was announced, and I was like, a peaceful protest happens in the light of day, not at the dark of night, because if you want your message to be seen and heard, you do it in the middle of the day. You don't do it when the lights are when the sunlights come down, when the sun sets, the lights come on, well, the street lights come on, and everybody's
Right.
wearing black. That's not going to end. It's not going to end nicely. It's just
Right.
not.
Look, look, it's meant to cause chaos, a destruction, and it's all for the cause. Of course, it's
Hmm.
all for the cause. They are fighting for the cause. So if they have to step on you and your family, that's sorry. That's the price you got to pay. Uh, I'm not sure for what, because all this stuff really creates such resentment in this country.
Hmm.
It's not. It's not a healthy situation. That I can tell you. What's going on out there and how people feel. People in the middle of the road. The moderates. When
Hmm.
they watch this, people are very concerned about the future of this great country. And by the way, this is the greatest country on the face of the earth. Now, that does not mean that we are anywhere close to perfect.
No,
We're not.
not at
By the
all.
way, do you know anybody who's perfect? Any of your friends?
Nope.
Nobody's. We all have our. We're not going to discuss it
Hmm.
right on the show, but we all have our weaknesses and,
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. So America, greatest country in the world.
Yep.
I mean, all I know is everybody everywhere wants to get into this country.
Hmm.
I wonder why.
If we're that's what I tell people, like I always say on my channel, I go, if we're this like systematically racist country, why are people coming here from all around the world? My in Texas, my son's nurse of 5 years, she was from Cameroon, and you have someone here, she came here as an immigrant from Cameroon, and her husband has her own business, she's there, a nurse, and they have a beautiful home in Texas.
Right.
But Texas is racist.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like you see stuff like this, and I just don't. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts.
Look, this is the land of opportunity, but you can't. It can't be handed to you on a silver platter. It doesn't work that way.
No.
I tell people, people when they talk about the Jewish community, and the Jewish community generally, there are a lot of poor people in the Jewish community,
Hmm.
but there's also a lot of success. We know that.
Hmm.
Let me tell you what the secret is. We're not any smarter than anyone else. Let me tell you that right now. The secret is so simple and everyone can buy into it. It's called education. That is the fundamental thing. I can tell you the value of education in the Jewish community, whether you're an Orthodox Jew, conservative, reform, we grow up at the youngest age with books, your parents reading to you, studying, whether it's Hebrew, whether it's English. I remember my kids were growing up. I would be at Barnes and Noble every single week. I'm not kidding. I used to teach at Baruch College, which was just a few blocks away from Barnes and Noble.
I went to Hunter.
Be getting books.
I went to Hunter
I would
College.
always be getting books. So books is so fundamental. My grandchildren, books. You read, you study, you get used to the idea, because that's the secret. And
I want to tell you another secret that you left out that you didn't put there: family, because I think that's the biggest problem right now, is the destruction of the family. Because like you said, your parents encouraged you to go to school, your parents encouraged you to read, you do it with your grandkids, you did it with your kids, and
absolutely.
The family. I mean, I also look at that with like the Asian community, because they're very family orientated. They have sometimes 3 generations living in the same household.
Right. And no, you're, by the way, thank you. I mean, that's a great point, that, family, being there for each other, being supportive. Everybody goes through tough times. Everybody has challenges, every person. Sooner or later, if you've had it very good up until now, sooner or later, you will have your challenges. That's what life is. The question is, how do you deal with your challenges? Do you blame? Who do you want to blame? Who do I blame for the fact that I'm not making it?
Yeah.
Is it the Jews you want to blame? Who do you want to blame? Who do you want to blame?
No,
and that's really what it's, people don't like to look in the mirror.
They don't want to, they hate to hear this: personal responsibility. Right. And I want to say, it's like, I would have loved to have been, I tried to become a police officer when I lived in Texas. But I did something stupid when I was young, and I couldn't do it. Was it society's fault? Was it the cops' fault for not to overlooking it? No, it's my fault. I did something stupid, and it's on me.
That takes maturity. I mean, what you just said, I mean, it's perfect what you said, because look, we should all at times be able to bend over and try to make things work for people, because people who have made mistakes, depending on what the mistake is, giving a person a second chance is a beautiful thing. But when it doesn't happen, and the rules are for everybody, then it has nothing to do with the fact that you are Jewish or Black or Latino or Asian or anything else. So, but again, we live in a society today, and it's gotten much worse. Blaming someone else. I don't have to tell you, white privilege. White privilege. I love that. And I just finished reading a book. One of my sons, he retired at a very young age, like in his 20s, and he's got some money, and all he does, honest, I'm not kidding, he reads like all the time. And he's actually given me a number of books. Isabel Wilkerson's book, Caste, which I just finished reading, what is it? White fragility, white privilege.
Oh, right, fragility. Yes, I
oh my God! Let me tell you, Caste at least I could deal with. It was interesting, but this other book was the most ridiculous. It was totally nuts.
Yeah, no,
white privilege.
I go like this: if white privilege,
white fragility?
No, white fragility, white
That's
fragility.
What it is. Oh my God!
If white privilege, really existed, then why do you know who Rachel Dolezal is? Have you ever heard that name?
No.
Oh, she was someone. She was pretending to be Black.
Oh yes, of course. Okay, long ago.
She
about 5-6 years ago. Yes.
But she was really a white lady pretending.
Yes, of course.
If white privilege existed, she wouldn't want to be Black.
Right. Look, there's no question there. Anyone who has studied the history of the Black community, anyone who studied slavery,
Hmm.
and the period from slavery into the 1960s, 70s, you know, terrible things were happening
Hmm.
to Black people. Horrible things were happening to Black people. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to be educated about each
Of
other.
course.
And that's very, very important. But one of the most interesting things is that all the major cities in this country, uh, like New York
Hmm.
and many other places, Chicago, you can go on, are run by Black mayors. Uh, if they're not Black, then the people running them are
The city council, the
progressive.
assembly.
Yeah, they're running the school systems. They're in charge.
Hmm.
They're in charge of the police departments. They're in charge of everything. So whose fault is it when things aren't going well?
Yeah.
When our kids are not graduating, when our kids have to take remedial subjects when they go to college for math and English in college, who's to blame for that? You can't blame Donald Trump for everything.
No,
It
but
doesn't work.
it's the boogeyman. That's how they
Right.
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
My sister, she voted for Biden, and I was talking with her, and I'm like, you're not really, what you support now, you're not really a Democrat anymore. You're successful. She's a legal secretary. I'm like, she makes good money, and I tell her, your taxes are going to go up now that once Biden becomes president. And she goes, no, he's not going to pick up my taxes. He only wants to pick up the rich. And I'm like, hey, you're gonna be in the point where your taxes are gonna go up. You're not making $20,000 a year where you don't have to worry about your taxes going up. You make six-figure salaries, so your taxes are gonna go up. And she's
Right.
like, okay, one in one ear and out the other, because they don't want to hear it.
Right.
And
Oh, look, a lot of people were turned off with Donald Trump. I mean, not his policies,
no, his
but
policies were excellent, especially for
exactly,
Israel.
exactly. So some of the rhetoric. Let's face it. Donald Trump would still be president if he had just behaved a little differently, a
Yes,
little bit, not a lot, a little.
no, I
And
agree,
that
because people liked his fighting back, because that's the problem with that's my problem with the Republican Party. That's one of the reasons why I can't call myself a Republican. I don't call myself a Democrat anymore. They're weak. And for the most part, you got these squishy
right,
people there that don't, they just, all they care about is staying in office. These people been in office for like 30 years.
right,
But you get the same problem in the Democratic Party. Don't get me wrong,
right.
but that's actually what I should say. Actually, let's say that's the problem on both sides, because you got these people that just want to be elected, so they embrace. They put their finger to the wind and go, okay, who we're going to embrace right now?
Right. How's the wind blowing today? And
Mm-hmm.
that's how they determine where they're going to be. So look, it's all about leadership as well. And leadership is not just having a title. That's not what it's all about. A lot of people have titles, a lot of members of Congress, a lot of members, House, Senate, mayors, governors. Are they really all leaders? No, they have a position. To be a leader means to have the courage to do things that you believe that may not be popular in the beginning, but you
Mm-hmm.
believe it is the right thing. This is my field was political science. And the question is, when you get elected to office, are you supposed to do exactly what the people who elected you to office want you to do? Like, 55% want me to vote a certain way, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't need a brain. I'm not even going to think, because that's what they
Mm-hmm.
want. Or do they elect you because they trust you
Mm-hmm.
to do the right thing, to make the right decisions? I would like to think that is the case more. Sure, you got to keep in mind the people you represent. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
But look, being in office during my time, I took on issues that were not popular in my community, like sexual abuse. I talked about that. I was the only person ever to talk about that, things that were going on in our community that people didn't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want it to be public. They didn't want, and So a lot of people said to me, 10, 15 years ago when I started talking about that, forget it. You're never going to get reelected. Forget it. They're going to kill you. They're going to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. And it wasn't easy. But, during the 18 times that I ran, right, 36 years, 18 times, I rarely had opposition. And when I did, at the end of the day, and this is the point I think you made earlier, the most important thing a politician can do is be there for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that the people I represented for 36 years, they knew one thing about Dov Hikind and the staff, not me, my staff, because it's all about the people you work with, that we were there for people. We try to help people. The issues are great, the public getting on television, arguing about things, but are you there for people when they have a problem? Is someone really listening? And is someone really trying to help you? Or are they just going through the motion? So I believe, I know, and I'm proud of this, that that's the most important thing a politician can do.
Mm-hmm.
And people know the difference.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember, even though I know he got in trouble later on, but my family, when we needed help, we would go to Sheldon Silver because he was our guy, and he helped out. He helped us out.
He was very effective, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was extremely effective, and it's sad what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe he got a bum rap. It was not fair what happened, but be that as it may, you're right. He had the resources as speaker to have all the staff in the world he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about that. It's about being determined to be there for people.
Mm-hmm. And he did, he was there for the community.
Right.
It didn't matter, whether you were Black, Jewish, Latino. They got stuff done.
Exactly.
In the Lower East Side. I mean, look at the way Lower East Side is transformed. I mean, it was, the buildings all burned out. Now you have high rises.
Right. It's changed tremendously. No
Mm-hmm.
question about it. No question.
All right. Well, we're almost going on an hour.
Oh my God.
And I don't want to keep you more than I have to. I'm hoping maybe down the line you'll come back. I would love to.
That is a yes for me.
Oh, thank you. So, I want to, so once again, where people could contact you. So like that they have,
sure.
And I follow you on Twitter. I don't know if you're anywhere else.
We're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to americansaa.org, it'll direct you to everything, to our website. Which is being populated as I talk. You'll see the videos. You'll see the things we've done. We don't only talk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
We walk the walk. We're out there. We stand up. I remember not too long ago at Rutgers University when Congresswoman Tlaib, came to speak there, and she just did something terrible, said something horrible about Israel. About something they did that was totally not true. I actually confronted her. You could watch the video as I was escorted out by the police, but I confronted her and demanded that she apologize. Sometimes you've got to be strong and tough, like I said earlier, and stand up for what you believe in. So it's americansaa.org. Follow us, be part of things, disagree with us, agree with us, but be part of the conversation. And I'm delighted to be with you to talk about things, to have an honest conversation.
All right. Well, I'm gonna put all that stuff into the description so like that people could find it anyway. I just wanted you to get it out there.
Sure, of course.
So I'm gonna end it there, but I'm just gonna let me say my spiel here and then all right,
Spiel,
everybody.
That's another Yiddish word.
Yeah, I said, wow. I grew up. Like I said, when I say I grew up where I grew up, I mean, I even know.
You know what a Shabbos guy is?
Shabbos guy.
That's the person who's not Jewish who puts on the light in the Jewish home.
Oh, okay. Because I know the Shabbos, isn't that when they do the no? That's I'm
Shabbos
thinking
is
the dinner.
is Friday night and
Uh,
Saturday when
yes.
you can't open a light and
Yep.
so on.
My
So you
parents
get
live in a
the
building where the elevator just goes up and down all the time on
right.
Friday
That's
because
because
they
of the
can't
Shabbos.
push the button.
Precisely.
Hmm.
You're right.
I'm the Right Rican, and you can follow me on at Twitter, Facebook, Parler, and Gab, and this will be put on YouTube and Rumble. And have a good one, everyone. And